Have you ever felt like you're just pushing a giant boulder uphill? Trying to make a change, any change, actually stick? Whether it's for yourself, your team, or your community, it can feel impossible. Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down an incredible framework that turns that struggle into a science.
I mean, it's a feeling we all know, right? That frustration when you set a goal, you give it your all, but somehow you just end up right back where you started. It doesn't matter if it's a new habit or a huge project, that cycle can feel completely unbreakable. So what's really going on here?
Well, it turns out we're not just imagining it. The data, it's pretty brutal. A staggering 85% of corporate change initiatives completely fail. And get this, even when people's lives are literally on the line, like with heart bypass patients, 90% go right back to their old, unhealthy habits in just 2 years. So yeah, it's pretty clear that just wanting to change is nowhere near enough.
And this quote from Viktor Frankl, it just nails it. A lot of the time, the biggest wall we're hitting isn't the situation itself. It's the complex, invisible forces that are shaping our own behavior. We're often trying to solve the wrong problem.
So what if the problem isn't you? What if it's not some personal failing or a lack of willpower? What if it's just that you haven't had the right strategy? The good news is there's a much better way than just trying harder. Let's dive into what that looks like.
The real solution is all about understanding what true influence is. And I'm not talking about some short-term trick or persuasion tactic. This is about creating deep, meaningful, and, most importantly, sustainable change, the kind that actually lasts.
And the strategy to get there is called the influencer model. Think of it like a blueprint. It's a system that helps you figure out why change is failing, and then gives you a clear path to make it work.
The whole model boils down to 3 core steps. It's super straightforward. First, you get laser-focused on what you actually want to achieve. Second, you find the few key behaviors that will make the biggest difference. And third, this is the magic. You use 6 powerful sources of influence to make it all happen. Let's walk through them.
All right, first things first, you can't hit a target you can't see, right? So step 1 is all about getting crystal clear on your goal. Before you even think about how you're going to create change, you have to know exactly what success looks like in super concrete terms.
So, a powerful result isn't something vague like get healthier. No way. It has to be specific and measurable. You need numbers, not feelings. It has to be the outcome that really matters, the big prize. And crucially, it needs a deadline. So it's not lose weight, it's lose 3 inches from my waist by December. See the difference?
Okay, so once you know your destination, you got to find the fastest way to get there. And this brings us to what might be the coolest part of this whole thing, the idea of vital behaviors. These are the few key actions that are total game changers.
A vital behavior isn't just any old action, it's a high-leverage action. Think of it like finding the one domino that when you push it, knocks over all the others. It's one of the few things that if you just do it consistently, will have this massive, outsized impact on your goal. Not all behaviors are created equal, and our job is to find the vital few.
And this is such a crucial distinction. We have to separate the behaviors from the results. For example, making 10 cold calls a day, that's the behavior you can control. Hitting 2 million in sales, that's the result. Or weighing yourself daily is the behavior. Maintaining weight loss is the result. The whole key is to focus on the action you can do that drives the outcome you want.
Okay, so you've got your result and you've identified the vital behaviors you need to perform. So why do we still fail? It's because the really tough, persistent problems are never, ever caused by just one thing. And that brings us to the most powerful part of this model, understanding the hidden forces that are working against us. When you boil it all down, all human behavior comes down to 2 simple things. First, motivation. Do I want to do it? Is it worth it for me? And second, ability. Am I able to do it? Can I actually pull this off? If a behavior isn't happening, I guarantee you the reason is hiding in one of those 2 areas. And this right here, this is the core of the whole framework. We take those 2 dimensions, motivation and ability, and we cross them with 3 levels of influence: personal, social, and structural. That creates this grid of 6 sources. So for example, is someone unmotivated because they just find the task boring? That's source 1, personal motivation. Or are they unmotivated because their coworkers will give them a hard time? That's source 3, social motivation. Do they lack the skills? That's source 2, personal ability. Or maybe their computer is too slow to do the job. That's source 6, structural ability. This grid is like a superpower for diagnosing why change is really stuck.
You know what's really cool? You can actually hear these sources in the way people talk every day. When someone says, I just don't enjoy doing that, that's a clue for personal motivation. If they say, the bureaucracy here makes it impossible, they're pointing right at a lack of structural ability. If you learn to listen for these phrases, it's like getting a cheat sheet to solve the problem.
So, the big question, does this really work out in the wild? Oh, you better believe it. Let's look at one of the most powerful, jaw-dropping examples of this framework in action, the near eradication of the guinea worm.
I mean, just picture this. The situation was absolutely awful. Millions of people were suffering from this horrific, debilitating disease, and there was no vaccine, no cure, no simple medical fix. It looked like a completely impossible problem.
So instead of looking for some miracle drug, the experts focused on just 3 vital behaviors. First, filter your drinking water. That gave people a new skill, tackling personal ability. Second, don't go into the water sources when you're infected, a simple action to stop the disease from spreading. And third, and this is huge, hold others accountable. This tapped right into social motivation. They were simple actions, but together, incredibly powerful.
And the result? It was absolutely breathtaking. By focusing on just those few vital behaviors and hitting multiple sources of influence at once, the number of cases plummeted from 3.5 million to less than 10,000. This wasn't a medical miracle, it was a behavioral science miracle. It's just a stunning example of what the right strategy can do.
So here is the big idea, the thing I really want you to take away from this. Persistent, tough problems are almost always a conspiracy of causes. It's not one thing. So your solution can't be one thing either. There's no single silver bullet. The research is clear. If you want to increase your odds of success by 10 times, you have to overwhelm the problem by using 4 or more of these 6 sources of influence. So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with a question. Think about that one change you've been struggling to make. It could be anything. Now look at these 6 sources of influence. Which ones have you been trying to use? And more importantly, which ones have you been completely ignoring? The answer to that question might just be the key you've been looking for to finally make that change happen.